She texted the wrong number, begging for help. The mafia boss tracked her in under 6 minutes. The air in the private dining room was stale, thick with cigar smoke and the smell of lies I had politely ignored for 2 hours. Coronado Key was quiet tonight, the rain washing the neon off the pavement, turning the streets into slick ribbons of red and black. My driver had the sedan running, the engine a low thrum against the sidewalk. I was rubbing the bridge of my nose, the headache already settling in behind my eyes, when the phone in my breast pocket vibrated. It was not my secure line. It was my public-facing burner, the one routed through half a dozen firewalls, the one that technically did not exist. I pulled it out, a number I did not recognize. The message was simple, desperate. "Please help me. They're right outside." My thumb hovered over the delete button. It was spam, or it was a setup. In my world, it was always one of the two. I had no time for games. Then the image loaded. It stopped me cold. My focus sharpened, the fatigue of the meeting evaporating, replaced by the cold, clear hum of analysis. It was not the content of the photo that froze me. It was the details, the things the sender did not know they were sending. It was a close-up of a door, cheap particle board painted an awful shade of beige, wet boot prints, heavy tread, military style soaked the faded carpet near the threshold, but it was the doorknob that held my attention. Brass-plated, cheap, and it was bent upward, visibly warped, the wood of the frame splintering around the strike plate. Someone was trying to force their way in, not pick the lock, just brute force, animalistic. I zoomed in, pushing past the pixelation. I did not just see the picture, I saw the data behind it. In the curved, distorted reflection of the warped knob, I caught the glass of a framed picture on the opposite wall, and in that glass, the blurry, reversed reflection of a wall clock. The time matched my own. I also saw, on a nightstand just visible in the reflection, the green and white label of a local water bottle, Sierra Point. That brand was only sold in the A-Block district, a budget supplier for the tenements. I activated the audio metadata from the live photo, under the muffled scraping and the sickening splintering sound at the door. I heard it, faint but unmistakable. The cyclical, two-tone horn of the freight ferry, the one that services Terminal 9. The timing of the horn blast, its proximity, told me the location relative to the port. I matched the clock reflection, the water bottle brand, and the audio signature, triangulation. 5 minutes and 47 seconds. That is how long it took me to find her. I knew the building, the Triton Apartments, a rundown stack of bricks I technically owned through 3 shell corporations, a property I kept off the books for assets I needed to keep close, or quiet. I was already in the car, the door slamming shut with a heavy, final sound. Triton, now, I told the driver. He did not question the change of plans. He just drove. I hit the comms link to my internal team, my voice low. Ghost line. Lock the exits, all of them, Triton block. From 7th to 9th. I want eyes on everyone leaving. Full stop. We cut through the rain. The city was a watercolor smear of red and blue light. I did not wait for the elevator, its cage rattling in the shaft. I took the stairs, 2 at a time. The 4th floor smelled like damp drywall, old grease, and a sharp, metallic tang of fear. I heard the definitive crack of wood splintering just as I rounded the corner to apartment 412. I did not knock. I used the standard safety signal. 3 sharp raps, not on the door, but on the wall right next to the frame. Tap, tap, tap. It is the signal for friendly, but its true purpose is tactical. It is designed to freeze an intruder for half a second, making them question if backup has arrived. If they are suddenly flanked, it worked. The man inside, big, clumsy, wearing a black rain slicker that dripped onto the carpet, had just kicked the cheap barricade of a chair away from the door. He turned toward the sound on the wall, confused, his weapon half raised. That half second was all I needed. I hit the door with my shoulder, striking just beside the knob. The already failed lock mechanism shattered. The door flew open. He was raising a weapon, A short-barreled shotgun, matte black. He was too slow. I moved under the barrel, my left hand deflecting, my right hand seizing his grip on the forend. I used his own forward momentum to twist his wrist. The sound of the bone snapping was sharp, louder than the rain lashing the windows. He screamed, a wet, guttural sound. I did not let him finish it, a single focused strike to the throat, and he collapsed, choking, the shotgun clattering uselessly on the worn carpet. And then I saw her. She was small, so small she looked like a child, though I knew she could not be. She was huddled in the far corner behind an overturned particle board bookshelf, looking like a scared rabbit caught in the high beams of a truck. A barista, maybe a student. She was drowning in a gray hoodie, the sleeves pulled down over her hands. The neon sign from the bar across the street pulsed red, flashing over her face, catching the absolute terror in her eyes. Rain lashed the thin window pane, rattling it in its frame. She was clutching her phone so hard her knuckles were white. The screen was shattered. Blood dripped steadily from her palm where the broken glass had sliced into her skin. She looked at me, a stranger in a tailored suit standing over the man on her floor. She looked at the man, who was now very still. Her entire body trembled, a violent, uncontrollable shudder. "You texted the wrong number," she whispered. Her voice was raw, broken. I looked at the mess, the splintered door, the boot prints, the neutralized threat. I looked at her, this girl who had accidentally dialed the one number in Coronado Key that could actually save her. "No," I said. My voice was dry, the only sound in the room besides the storm. "Only just in time." I did not give her time to argue, or faint, or scream. The sirens were close now, but they were the wrong sirens. They were local police, not my cleanup crew. Ghostline must have been delayed by the district lockdown. I grabbed my heavy wool overcoat from where I had dropped it in the hall. "We are leaving." She flinched when I moved toward her, pressing herself harder against the wall. "Are you shot?" I demanded. She shook her head, her dark hair sticking to her tear-streaked face. "Can you walk?" She tried to stand, pushing herself up with her one good hand, but her legs buckled. I did not have time for this. I crossed the room in 2 strides and scooped her up. She weighed nothing. She made a small, choked sound, a gasp. As I pulled her against my chest, I wrapped the heavy coat around her, covering her completely, shielding her small frame from the rain that was now blowing into the ruined hallway. I carried her past the man on the floor, not giving him a second glance. We went down the back stairs, ignoring the puddle of standing water and filth at the bottom. The armored SUV was waiting, engine rumbling, the back door already open, my driver standing rigid in the downpour. I placed her inside, slamming the door just as the first police cruiser turned the corner, its lights painting the alley blue and white. We were rolling before they even cut the engine. The SUV was silent, just the rhythmic, heavy thump of the industrial wipers and the sound of her breathing. It was ragged, coming in short, painful bursts. She was in shock. I kept my eyes on the mirrors, watching the streets behind us, ensuring we had no tail. We blended into the sparse, late-night traffic, just another black sedan disappearing into the rain. She finally spoke, her voice muffled by the collar of my coat, which she was clutching like a lifeline. "They want me because of the Citrus Bright Fund." I turned from the mirror to look at her. She was huddled against the door, as far from me as she could get in the confined space. Her eyes were still wide, but the mindless terror was being replaced by something else, a desperate need to explain. I found something," she stammered, her bloody hand trying to wipe the tears from her face, leaving a red smear. "The donation lists, I'm an accounting student. I found abnormal microtransfers." I looked back at the rain-slicked road, the Citrus Bright Fund, a clean charity, too clean. An organization I had been watching for months. This girl was not a random target. This was not a botched robbery. Someone had pulled her into a game she did not understand, and in doing so, they had pointed a gun straight at my organization. She was not just a wrong number. She was the first move in a war, The Indigo warehouse is not a warehouse. From the outside, it is just another corrugated steel box sitting in the shadow of the Coronado Bridge, smelling of salt and diesel. Inside, it is the central nervous system of the Veil Syndicate. It is soundproof, air-gapped, and impeccably clean. The only sound was the steady drumming of the 2 a.m. rain on the insulated roof and the quiet hum of the servers in the far bay. A medic, a former combat surgeon who owed me his life, had just finished stitching the girl's palm, June. She had told us her name, June Navarro. She sat on a steel stool in the center of the operations floor, wrapped in a fresh, dry blanket, my overcoat now evidence in a disposal bag. Her hand was bandaged. She was still trembling, but the shock had subsided, replaced by the frantic energy of someone who has seen the abyss and is desperate to explain it. "I'm a barista at the Key Cup," she said, her voice small but clear. "But I'm in my junior year for accounting, for my advanced audit class. We had to pick a local nonprofit and analyze their public filings. It was just a project. I picked the Citrus Bright Fund. Everyone loves them." I stood in front of the wall, a massive blank slate of white glass. I did not look at her. I listened. Go on. Their public books were fine, perfect even, but for extra credit, we were supposed to test the donation portals. I ran a simple diagnostic script, just to see how the data packets moved. I was just supposed to be mapping the flow for a paper. She took a shaky breath, but the script glitched. It pulled a data string it should not have seen. It was a secondary ledger, a hidden one. My head snapped up. I looked at her. A secondary ledger. It was only active for a few seconds before the firewall kicked me, but the script saved a cache file. It was a transaction log. Millions going from Citrus Bright Fund to a freight company, Sarah Freight. I picked up a black marker and wrote Sarah Freight on the glass wall. "I know it," I said. "A shell. Registered in Delaware. 0 assets. 0 employees. It exists only to move paper." "That's what I thought," she said, her voice gaining a fraction of confidence. She was a numbers girl. This was her ground. The main donations, the big checks. No, the gala money, it all went where it was supposed to. But this hidden ledger was different. It was thousands of tiny donations, all digital, all exactly $4,999. I uncapped a red marker, just under the $5,000 mandatory reporting threshold for cash transactions. Exactly, but it was the pattern that was wrong. It was not random. The number of donations per day followed a sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. It was a Fibonacci sequence. It was a signal. It was intentional. I stepped back from the wall. I began pulling files from our own internal server, projecting them onto the glass. Corporate filings, shipping manifests, shareholder reports. I started pinning them up, using red string to connect the dots. Citrus Bright Fund, Sarah Freight, and the bank that financed both. "Silas Cade," I said, the name tasting like acid. June frowned. "Who?" "The man behind the curtain. He runs the North Star Guild." I looked back at her. Her wide, innocent eyes were a stark contrast to the violence I associated with that name. There are competition. But Cade does not play with guns, not usually. He's a new breed. He uses the market. He attacks with short sales, hostile takeovers, and algorithm-based arbitrage. He launders his profits through charity to buy political influence. He uses finance as a weapon. "He sent that man," she whispered. It was not a question. "He sent that man to get the cash file or to silence you." I pinned another document to the board. It was a screenshot of the text messages she had received yesterday, before the attack. This Western Ports Authority Division 13. It's fake. There is no Division 13. They were trying to scare you, to make you think you had stumbled into a federal investigation. They wanted you to panic, to run, or to hand over the data to them, thinking they were the good guys. When you did not, they sent the brute. I stared at the board, the web of red string growing more complex. It was clean, it was brilliant, and it was infuriating. But something was off. The timeline. He did not just want the data. June, I said, thinking aloud, if you just wanted the file, you would already be dead. That man in your apartment was clumsy, and he was meant to be seen, and he was meant to scare you. I turned to her. The pieces were locking into place, and the picture they formed was cold and terrible. They were flushing you out. They knew you had the file. They knew you were a threat. They put pressure on you, expecting you to run to the police, or to someone else, someone like me. I do not understand, she said. This is not about your class project. This is not even about the Citrus Bright Fund. That is just his side business. I tapped the glass wall, right over Cade's name. He's hunting something bigger. He's hunting for the Gannett key. It's a digital failsafe, a cold storage wallet that holds the central accounts for my entire organization. He thinks your discovery, your data, is somehow connected to it. He thinks you are the path. I faced her. The air in the warehouse suddenly felt 10 degrees colder. She was the loose thread Cade had found, and he was pulling on it, hoping to unravel my entire life's work. He used you as bait. He scared you, knowing there was a chance, however small, you would run in the right direction, or that I would hear the noise and find you. You are not the target. I am. You are just the tool. She stared at her bandaged hand, the reality of it sinking in. She was not a victim of a random crime. She was a pawn in a war she did not know existed. I let the silence stretch. Let the weight of her situation settle on her. You have two options, I said finally, my voice flat, leaving no room for negotiation. Option 1. You walk out that door. I give you cash, a new name, a ticket to anywhere. But he will find you. Cade is meticulous. He will hunt you down because you are a loose end, and I will not be there a second time. I paused. Option 2. You stay. You stay right here, with me. You will be safe. I will guarantee it. In exchange, you take that brilliant accounting mind of yours, and you help me use that data. You help me trace his entire laundry chain, from the first fake donation to the last offshore account. You help me prove it. You help me break him. She looked up, her eyes dark. You want me to help you? Fight him. I am a barista. I am a student. I am not like you. You are not. You are smarter. He plays with numbers. You understand them. I need what is in your head. She hesitated. Her gaze dropped from my face to her own wrist. It was a faint tattoo, blurred with age, just gray ink against her pale skin. A name. Lilia. I watched her fingers trace the letters. I saw her spine straighten. The fear did not leave her eyes, but something else joined it. Resolve. The kind of resolve that gets forged in fire. I will do it, she said, her voice quiet but firm. I will help you. But I have one condition. I raised an eyebrow. No innocent people get hurt, she said. The people donating to Citrus Bright Fund, the ones who think they are doing good, the people who work at the port, they are not part of this. I will not be the reason someone else gets a monster sent to their door. I held her gaze. It was a naive request. In our world, the innocent were always the first casualties. But it was her line, and I needed her. You have my word, I said. We target Cade, only Cade. She nodded once. A sharp, sudden movement, a contract sealed. I turned away from her and hit the intercom on my desk. Get Maura Quill in here. My driver nodded. Maura was my internal advisor, my counsel. She was sharp, precise, and lived in the legal gray areas where I operated. She would be June's shadow, her supervisor and her guard. While I waited, I made another call. This one went to a journalist on my payroll, a man who specialized in high finance rumors. Yes, I said into the phone, my voice casual. I'm just exploring options, thinking about liquidating some assets for a new venture. Put the word out, softly. I am considering selling Garnet Pier. I hung up. June looked at me, confused. Garnet Pier is my private dock, I explained. It's the most profitable, secure piece of my operation, and Silas Cade has wanted it for 5 years. You are selling it. No, I said, a cold smile touching my lips. I'm setting a trap. Cade thinks he is hunting me, but he just brought the one person who can burn his kingdom down right to my door. The hunt is over. Now the war begins. The Indigo warehouse had transformed in 48 hours. The sterile operations floor was now a chaotic nest of data. Whiteboards were covered in June's sharp, precise handwriting, charting account numbers and server routes. Empty coffee cups littered the terminals. She was not the trembling girl I had carried out of the rain. That girl was gone. In her place was an analyst, focused, driven, angry. Kate is smarter than just using a shell company, she said, not looking up from her screen. She was cross-referencing the Sarah freight invoices with the Citrus Bright Fund donor list. The real bleed isn't in the direct transfers. It's buried in the service contracts, the vendor fees. She pointed to the screen. Right here. The Red Heron Pier. It's the closest stop to the terminal. There's a coffee kiosk there. The Key Cup. Same company I work for. Different franchise. What about it, Maura Quill? My advisor asked. Maura stood observing, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. The kiosk pays a monthly fee to the Citrus Bright Fund for community partnership. It's part of their branding. But their point-of-sale transaction fees are routed through a third-party processor. And those fees, June said, tapping the screen, are insane. They spiked nearly 200% last month, and the month before, but not every day. The spikes only happen on the days when a specific container ship, the Andromeda, is listed as delayed in the port system. I looked at the board. The Andromeda. It was not delayed. It was sitting. They're not delaying the ship, I said. They're using the delay as a cover to move the cash. They skim the donations in person, then run the cash through the coffee shop's register as legitimate sales. The inflated POS fee is the laundered money being kicked back to Cade's processor. It was a physical weak point in a digital system. I moved to my own terminal. I could not check the Andromeda through my own port authority. Cade had eyes everywhere. I needed an outside line, a ghost. I initiated a secure call. This is Vale, I said. The line clicked, a wash of white noise before a synthesized voice replied. Unit X9, go! I need a manifest check on the Andromeda, currently sitting off Red Heron Pier. I need to know why it's flagged for a customs hold. That is classified data. Vale, you know the price. It's already on its way. I hit the key to transfer my own port logs from the last 90 days. I had embedded nearly invisible digital watermarks in them. Useless to Cade, but invaluable to the shadow agency known as the Interstate Commerce Bureau. They were not cops. They were auditors with tactical teams. Check the watermarks. I need the answer in 5 minutes. 3, the voice replied, and the line went dead. While I waited, June kept digging. Nicola, this ledger, the private one from the cash file, there's a name, Capella. It's listed in the treasurer's private notes as an external compliance consultant. The payments to Capella match the exact dates Cade's shell company, Sarah Freight, was first activated. Capella. A knot of ice formed in my gut. Capella was Maura Quill's internal designation, her code name. I looked at Maura, who was busy reviewing June's workflow, her face a mask of professional interest. She could not have known. It had to be a coincidence. But in my world, there are no coincidences. There is only enemy action. I said nothing. I filed the information away, locking it behind a wall of cold iron. If she was a traitor, she had just made the last mistake of her life, but I would not move until I was certain. My terminal chimed. The file from X9. The Andromeda was being held because of an anonymous tip. Its cargo was listed as agricultural equipment, but the manifest was a ghost. It was moving nothing. It was a floating bank vault. We need to follow the digital money, June said, pulling me back. Right now, we see it go into Sarah Freight, but then it vanishes. He's using tumblers to mix it. So we lose it, I said. Not if we dust the account, she said, her eyes bright. dust them. We make our own micro-donations to the Citrus Bright Fund through their own portal. Tiny amounts, 1 cent, 3 cents, 5 cents. We attach a simple tracker script to those specific transactions. When Cade's system rolls the accounts, our dust goes with it. We follow the pennies. It's too small for his filters to catch. They'll lead us to his orphan wallets, the final destination. I stared at her. It was brilliant. Proactive. Do it. I watched her work for another hour. The adrenaline that had kept her going for 2 days was fading. Her shoulders slumped. She rubbed her eyes, the tremor returning to her hands, this time from exhaustion. Enough, I said. Come with me. She looked up, startled. I'm not finished. You are for now. You're no good to me, burned out. I led her away from the operations floor, Mara's eyes following us until the door hissed shut. I took her to a different part of the warehouse, a sector that was quiet, dark and cold. I keyed in a code. A heavy steel door opened, revealing not servers or weapons, but rows of archival shelves. What is this place? She whispered, rubbing her arms. The Sapphire Archive, my family's, the parts that are left, anyway. It was a library of my past. Photo albums, old business ledgers from my grandfather, paintings, boxes of letters. June moved slowly, hesitantly, as if walking into a church. She stopped at a wall of framed photographs. Me, as a teenager, awkward in a suit, my father looking severe, and one photo in the center. Me, about 10 years old, my arm slung over a younger boy who looked just like me, but smiling. He looks like you, June said softly. My brother, Alessio. My voice sounded strange in the quiet room. He was, softer. He wasn't built for this. What happened to him? This world, it chews up soft things. I touched the glass. I learned early. You either become the thing that chews, or you get eaten. She looked at me, her gaze analytical, but not cold. It was the way she looked at her spreadsheets, as if trying to find the imbalance. I see it, she said. The tiredness. It's behind all this, the power. You look just as tired as he looks happy. No one had spoken to me like that in 20 years. A sharp beep came from the tactical watch on my wrist. An alert. I turned, shielding her instinctively, pushing her toward the door. What is it? I said into my comms. Ghostline's voice was tight. Boss? We have a visitor. Rooftop, North Star grade drone. Low pass. It's looking for her. He knows she's not at the apartment. I felt a flash of pure, cold rage. He was scanning my safe house. Authorize Firefly, I ordered. No noise. I pulled June to a monitor by the door. Switching it to the external roof camera, we saw the drone, a black quadcopter hovering in the rain. He's trying to find your phone signal, I said. Then, on the screen, a figure from my Ghostline team stepped onto the roof. He was not holding a rifle. He was holding a modified flare gun. He aimed. A bright, magnesium-white flare shot into the sky, exploding directly above the drone. It was not an attack, it was a blind. The drone's sensitive optics, overloaded by the sudden light, went dead. It spun, disoriented, and crashed hard onto the concrete roof of the next building over. Quiet, efficient, no gunshot to explain to the police. June was breathing hard, her hand on the wall to steady herself. The fear was back, but it was mixed with anger. He's not going to stop. No, I said, so we stop him first. We went back to the operations floor. The attack had given June a new, frantic energy. That file, she said, racing back to her terminal, the one labeled Orange Zest. I thought it was a marketing file. It's not. It's a shell script. She pulled the code up. It was dense, complex, but she scrolled right to the core function. It's a wallet roll, an automated script. It activates at 3:07 in the morning, every even-numbered day. It liquidates every single micro-donation wallet and moves the entire balance in one lump sum. Tonight, I said, that's an even-numbered day. Where does it go? Maura asked. June traced the final line of code to a single processing node, a server hidden inside, the Blue Crown Casino. The Blue Crown, Cade's flagship, his fortress. That's his final wash, I said. He mixes his dirty money with the casino's clean money. After that, it's invisible. I looked at the clock. It was just past midnight. He runs the script tonight in 3 hours. Our dust won't even be in the system by then, June said, her face falling. We're not going to dust the account, I said. I looked at June, then at Mara. We're going to be inside that casino when the transfer happens. We're going to seize the node. That's suicide, Mara said flatly. The Blue Crown's security is biometric. You can't breach it. We're not breaching it, I said. And we're not going in with guns. We're going in with proof. That anonymous tip to Unit X9. That was me. I'm bringing them. Silas Cade wants to play with finance. Tonight, I'm going to hit him with a full-scale federal audit. We left the Indigo warehouse at 2:15 in the morning. The city was a ghost, washed clean by the earlier storm. Unit X9 was mobilized, their unmarked tactical vans moving toward the Blue Crown from the south, ready to breach the moment the clock struck 3:07. We were the tip of the spear. I was driving. It was a concession. I never drive myself on an operation, but I needed June beside me. I needed her eyes on the data stream she would be running from the passenger seat. We were in my primary armored sedan, a vehicle that looked like a luxury car but was built like a bunker, with a ghost-line chase car following 3 lengths behind. We turned onto the main boulevard, 2 blocks from the casino, and we stopped. The street, which should have been empty at 2:30 in the morning, was a sea of people. Music blared from speakers stacked on the sidewalk. Bright, gaudy lights were strung between the lampposts. "What is this?" June whispered, her hands freezing over the laptop in her lap. "Coronado Key Midnight Eats." I read from a flapping banner, a food truck festival. At this hour, it was chaos. Smoke from open grills, the smell of sugar and fried food, and a dense crowd of hundreds blocking the street, end to end. "It's a trap," I said, my voice flat. As if summoned by the words, the fireworks began. They were not fireworks, they were mortar shells, launched from a flatbed truck hidden among the food vendors. They exploded overhead, bright, beautiful bursts of red and green. The crowd cheered, thinking it was part of the show. My Ghostline team knew better. The explosions were sound cover. Ping! Ping! The sharp, metallic reports were unmistakable. Small arms fire, hitting the armored glass of the windshield. They were firing from the rooftops, using the crowd as a human shield. My chase car was already cut off, boxed in by 2 vendor trucks. We were alone. I slammed the sedan into reverse, but a delivery truck, its lights off, screeched to a halt behind us, blocking our retreat. We were pinned. "They're flushing us out," June said, her voice tight with panic. "They are," I said, gripping the wheel. The crowd was too thick. I could not drive through them. This was Cade's move. He was clumsy. He was using civilians. June was not looking at the shooters. She was scanning the street itself. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely point. But she did. She pointed past a blazing red taco truck. There, the gap, between the truck and the laundromat. I squinted in. All I saw was a 2-foot-wide sliver of darkness. "That's not a lane. It's a sidewalk." "It's a fire lane," she insisted, Wayne, her voice rising. "See the sign? The red curb, emergency vehicle access only. It runs behind the building and exits onto 9th Street. It's an escape route." The mortars cracked overhead, the glass spiderwebbed where a high-caliber round struck it. But it held. I looked at her, this terrified student. "Who taught you to read urban escape routes?" I asked, my voice grim. "My night manager," she said, her eyes fixed on the alley. "At the Key Cup, after the 3rd grease fire, he made us all memorize the building's evacuation plan. That alley is our muster point." I did not waste another second. I smiled. Good manager. I threw the sedan into drive, wrenched the wheel hard right, and mounted the curb. I plowed directly through a massive, brightly colored pretzel stand. Wood, salt, and twisted metal exploded over the hood. People screamed as the 2-ton vehicle carved a path where none existed. We slammed into the alley. It was dark, narrow and slick with garbage and rain. The walls scraped against the side mirrors as I accelerated, my foot hard on the floor. We burst out onto 9th Street, tires smoking, the engine roaring in protest. We were clear. For 1 second, I heard it before I saw it, the high-pitched, furious scream of a sport bike engine at full throttle. It came out of a side street to our right, headlights off, a black shadow on a black machine. It was gaining on us, coming up fast on the passenger side, on June's side. "Nicola!" she yelled. The rider pulled parallel. He wore a black helmet, its visor opaque. He raised his left arm. He was not holding a gun. It was a block of C4, a magnetic charge. He was going to breach the glass and kill her. We were approaching the intersection at 10th Street. The light was red. "Hang on," I said. I did not slow down. I accelerated into the middle of the empty intersection. Then, at the apex, I yanked the handbrake hard and spun the steering wheel to the right. The sedan obeyed. It is a heavy machine, but it is perfectly balanced. It pivoted on its front axle, the back end swinging around in a violent, controlled arc, a perfect 180-degree whip strike. Time slowed down. I saw the rider's helmeted head turn, his body tense with surprise. He had been expecting us to run. He had no time to swerve, no time to brake. The rear quarter panel of my sedan, traveling at over 40 miles an hour, smashed directly into the motorcycle's frame. The sound was not loud. It was a dull, final, sickening thump of metal crushing metal and bone giving way. The bike and the rider were thrown 20 feet, tumbling through the air before smashing into a concrete utility box. The sedan came to a stop. Now facing the direction we had just come from, the alley was empty. The rider did not move. The car was suddenly, profoundly silent. The only sound was the engine's low rumble, the ticking of the cooling metal, and the distant, festive pops of the fireworks, which were still going. I realized I could not get a full breath. I looked down. June's hand was fisted in the front of my shirt. She had grabbed me during the violent turn, her knuckles bone white, her nails digging into my chest right over my heart. She was staring into the side mirror, at the unmoving black shape on the pavement behind us. Her chest was heaving, shallow. Rapid breaths. Her pupils were blown wide, 2 black holes of pure, undiluted adrenaline. Her lips were parted, trembling. She was terrified. She was magnificent. A slow, cold smile touched my mouth. I kept my voice low, calm, almost a whisper. "Breathe deep, June." She did not respond. Her eyes were locked on the mirror. "In for a count of 4, I commanded, my voice gentle but firm. "Hold for 4, out for 4, do it, now." Her wide, dark eyes snapped from the mirror to my face. She was still clutching my shirt, as if I were the only solid thing in the universe. "Breathe," I said. She obeyed. A ragged, shuddering gasp of air. She held it. Her entire body was vibrating. She exhaled, the sound almost a sob. She did it again. In, hold, out. The frantic bird in her chest began to slow. Her hand did not let go of my shirt. I disengaged the handbrake. "Ghost line status," I said into my comms. "Target neutralized. Boss, we are clear and proceeding to rendezvous." I drove 2 blocks, leaving the wreck for the city to find. I turned into the service entrance of a multi-story parking garage. It was automated, cold and empty. We spiraled up to the 5th level. My chase car was already there, parked next to a clean, anonymous, sand-colored sedan. "Out," I said. We moved fast. My 2 Ghost Line men were already transferring our tactical gear and her laptop to the clean car. One of them slapped a new, fake QR code registration sticker onto the windshield, blending us into the casino's database of registered vehicles. My comms chirped. It was Maura, back at the Indigo Command Center. "Nicola, the rumor worked. The Garnet Pier sale, Cade took the bait. He thinks you are liquidating assets because you are weak. He has pulled half his private security from his other operations and moved them to the Blue Crown. He's expecting a desperate physical attack. I looked at June. She was watching my men, her face pale in the sickly yellow light of the garage. "He's right," I said. "He just got the timing wrong." I pulled her toward the new car. I opened the passenger door. "He has doubled his security," I said, looking her in the eye. "He has gathered all his wolves in one place." "You wanted this," she said. It was not a question. "You wanted them all in the casino." "I did." I pressed a small, flesh-colored earpiece into her good, unbandaged hand. "Put this in." Her fingers were still unsteady. She fumbled with it. I sighed, a quiet sound. I took it from her, gently. I pushed her dark hair behind her ear and fitted the piece myself. My fingers brushed the soft skin of her neck. It was cold. I leaned in close. My voice was a whisper, meant only for her and the microphone. "Listen to me. When we go in there, you are my eyes. I am your hands. Unit X9 will handle the muscle, but you are the only one who can identify that server node and capture the data before Cade scrubs it." I held her gaze, forcing her to see the absolute certainty in mine. "Do not make me choose between losing you and losing the target," I said. She swallowed, the sound sharp in the concrete silence. She looked at my hand, which was still resting lightly on her shoulder, and then back to my eyes. Her own gaze, which had been wide with terror, now hardened, finding its own steel. "Don't make me choose," she replied, her voice shaking but not breaking, "between losing you and losing myself." I got in the driver's seat. We drove out of the garage, just another anonymous sedan, heading for the blinding lights of the Blue Crown Casino. We did not use the main entrance. We used a high-roller service corridor, accessed by a clone staff key card my Ghostline team had activated 2 minutes before. The anonymous sedan was left in the valet lot, just another car belonging to another gambler. In the concrete stairwell, June had changed. The hoodie and jeans were gone, replaced with a simple, sleeveless black dress that my team had provided. It was standard attire for gala staff or interns. It made her look older and impossibly fragile. Her dark hair was pulled back, revealing the sharp line of her jaw. Her bandaged hand was the only flaw in the illusion. I had straightened my tie and buttoned my suit jacket. We looked the part. We looked like we belonged. The doors opened onto the VIP floor. The change was immediate. The air was different. It was cool, smelled faintly of vanilla and expensive cigars, and was filled with the sound of a live jazz trio, a saxophone, a bass, a piano, soft, seductive, and dangerous. It was a room designed to make you forget the time, the city, and the value of your money. We split at the marble atrium. "I see it," June whispered into her comm, the tiny microphone hidden in a simple earring. "The Citrus Bright Fund kiosk. It's by the entrance to the main lounge. It's very public." "It's a prop," I murmured, my hand going to my own earpiece as if adjusting it. "A performance. They want people to see Cade's generosity. Move in. I'll draw the eyes." I walked to the high-limit baccarat table. The pit boss nodded at me, a flicker of professional recognition. I did not have an account here, but in my world, your face is your credit line. I sat, placing a single black chip, worth $50,000, on the felt. "Banker," I said to the dealer. I watched June move. She was a ghost. She picked up a champagne flute from a passing tray, not to drink, but to blend. She drifted toward the brightly lit kiosk, a touch-screen monolith flashing images of smiling children. She clutched a sleek, silver pen in her good hand. "2 guards," she whispered in my ear. "By the archway. They're watching the room, not the kiosk." "They're looking for weapons, June, not interns," I said, my voice just above a whisper. I looked at the dealer as she prepared the cards. Beautiful hands tonight. The woman next to me, dripping in diamonds, smiled, thinking I was complimenting the dealer, in my ear. June's breathing hitched. "I'm in position." I lost the hand. I did not flinch. I pushed 2 more chips onto the felt. 100,000. "Player," I said. "You only win if you trust your partner." A beat of silence from her, Then, I'm at the kiosk. It's a touchscreen. Donate to the Bright Fund. I'm looking for a port. It will be underneath. A maintenance access port. Feel for it. Another beat. Got it. It's a USB-C. Okay, I'm plugging in the pen. The firmware it's running. This was the moment. The silver pen was a custom-built drive. It was not hacking. It was imitating a certified maintenance tool, using a security key we had lifted from a corrupt port official. It was not breaking in. It was letting itself in, and it was designed to copy, not to alert. I watched the dealer slide the shoe. My heart was a steady, cold drumbeat. Data stream is active, June whispered. Her voice was sharp, focused. Oh God, it's not just donation logs. It's a directory. Hidden files. They're flashing past. Nicola, I see it. Kestrel _cold_storage_list. It's a list. It looks like wallet keys. The Kestrel, a ghost ship in Cade's fleet, the floating bank. Copy it, now, June, all of it. Wait, the screen. It's glitching. It says, System Alert Routine Maintenance Scan Initiated. Nicola, someone else is on the network. My blood ran cold. It's the script, I said, my voice flat. The 307 script. He's running it early. Cade is here. He's nervous. Pull the drive. Abort. No, wait, she hissed. The file, it's dissolving. It's a self-destruct protocol. The file is deleting itself as I'm taking screenshots, rapid fire. I'm just getting fragments. June, get out of there. Now, that is an order. Got it, I think I got half of it. I'm pulling the pin. I'm out. I'm walking. I stood. I had won the hand. A small mountain of chips was being pushed toward me. I did not even look at them. I left it all on the table and turned away, ignoring the dealer's sharp, confused call. Rendezvous, parking garage, roof, go, I said into the comm. I walked. I did not run. I moved through the velvet ropes, past the soft jazz, a man who had simply had his fill of gambling for the night. I hit the stairwell door to the roof of the parking garage first. I slammed my shoulder into the bar and burst out into the night air. It was cold, sharp, and it bit at my face. The wind was high, carrying the distant smell of the ocean. Below us, the city was a carpet of noise and light. The smooth, mournful sound of the saxophone drifted up from the lounge, a thin thread of music in the dark. The door flew open again. June stumbled out, pulling the pen from her dress. She saw me and nearly folded in relief. We did it, she panted, holding up the silver pen as if it were a trophy. The files, the fragments, they're on this. The adrenaline of the last 3 days, the apartment, the street fight, the infiltration, it all came crashing down on us at once. She was breathing hard, her chest rising and falling. The wind was a physical force, whipping her black hair out of its neat bun, lashing it across her face. She looked wild, terrified, and more alive than anyone I had ever seen. We stood there, 2 feet apart, caught in the sudden, strange silence of the rooftop, the tension that had been humming between us for days, the kinetic energy of survival. It arced in the cold air. She took a half step toward me, not even realizing it. Pulled by the same magnetic force I felt, I met her halfway. I did not think, I just reacted. I lifted my hand, I moved slowly, deliberately, giving her every chance to flinch, to pull away. She did not. I cupped her cheek. Her skin was cold from the wind, but a tremor ran through her at my touch. My thumb brushed the delicate line of her jaw. I was not a man who asked for permission. I was a man who took what he wanted, but this was not about wanting. This was about something else. My eyes asked the question I did not know how to voice. She leaned into my hand, a fractional, almost imperceptible movement, a slight, breathless nod. It was the only answer I needed. I bent my head and kissed her. It was not the desperate, frantic collision of 2 people who had just survived. It was not rushed. It was certain. It was a confirmation. It was the taste of salt from the sea air, the cold of the wind, and a sudden, grounding warmth that started in my chest and spread to every part of me. It was the end of a breath I had been holding since her first text message. Her good hand came up, pressing flat against my shirt. I could feel her palm against my chest, and the sharp, sudden kick of my own heart beneath it. It hammered once, twice, and then began to slow, to steady, matching the new rhythm of the world. I pulled back, but not far. I rested my forehead against hers. We were breathing the same air. "You're safe here," I whispered. It was a vow. I shrugged out of my suit jacket, the heavy wool still warm, and wrapped it around her shoulders. She gripped the lapels, her small frame swallowed by the fabric. For one perfect suspended moment, there was only the sound of our breathing and the distant, lonely saxophone from the street below. A sharp digital click in my earpiece shattered the world. Maura's voice, tense, frantic. "Nicola, extract now. The op is compromised. Unit X9 is being diverted. We have an active threat. WPA 13 is moving on your location. They're inside the garage. Get out. Get out." My blood turned to ice. My entire body went rigid. June felt it instantly, pulling back, her eyes wide with confusion. "Nicola, what is it? What's wrong?" WPA 13. Western Ports Authority, Division 13. The fake agency I had invented, the name I had used in the text messages to flush out June, the designation that only existed in my own internal files. The only people who knew that code name were me, my Ghostline tactical lead. And Maura Quill? June was watching my face. She saw the realization dawn. She saw the blood drain from it. Her mind, that fast, brilliant mind, connected the data points. Maura, the payments to Capella, the internal code name. She grabbed my wrist. Her grip was iron. "Maura," she whispered, her voice sick with the realization. "It was her. The mole saw your trump card. She's not warning us." Her eyes darted to the service elevator on the far side of the roof. "She is telling him where we are." As if summoned, the heavy thud of the elevator arriving at our floor echoed across the concrete. We ran. Not to the car, not to the stairs we came up. We ran to the fire escape, a set of cold, black, steel stairs bolted to the side of the building, plunging into the dark alley below. We scrambled over the side, our feet clanging on the metal. Below us, the city was oblivious. The smooth jazz was still playing. It felt like a mockery, the soundtrack to a beautiful night that had just been ripped wide open. We did not go back to the Indigo warehouse. We did not go anywhere Maura Quill had ever seen. We went to ground at the Anchor Point, an old, disused customs house on the industrial canal that I kept for emergencies like this. It was damp, smelled of rust and cold river water, and was completely secure. The adrenaline from the rooftop was gone. The warmth of that brief, impossible kiss had evaporated, replaced by the biting cold of betrayal. The silence in the armored sedan as we crossed the city was heavier and more dangerous than any gunfire. June sat rigid in the passenger seat, my suit jacket still wrapped around her. She was staring at the silver pen she held in her lap, the data fragments she had risked her life for, all for an operation that had been designed to fail. "She knew," June said to the dark windshield. "WPA 13. She used your own internal code name against you. She was listening. The Capella payments. She was playing us. All of it." "Yes," I said. My voice was a flat, dead thing. I made one call when we were inside the safe house. Not to Ghostline. To Maura. Anchor Point, now, alone. She arrived 20 minutes later. She walked into the cold concrete room with a look of practiced, professional concern on her face. She was the image of my loyal advisor, ready for a tense debrief. "Nicola, thank God," she started, pulling off her gloves. "Kate's security was everywhere. The breach was a setup. We need to pull back, reevaluate, find out how he—" "Sit down, Maura." My voice stopped her cold. It was quiet, too quiet. She looked from me to June. June was standing in the shadows by the far wall, her face pale, her eyes burning with a silent, cold fury. Mara's composure faltered for just a second. "What is this? What is wrong?" I did not answer. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, digital recorder. I had placed it under her desk at the Indigo warehouse the moment June found the name Capella in the ledger. It was a simple precaution. I pressed play. The room filled with Mara's voice. Not her voice now, but her voice from 12 hours ago. It was low, tense, and coming from a secure line I had mirrored. Cannot control the girl. The recording of Mara said, "She is too smart. She found the serif transfers." A man's voice replied, synthesized and cold. Silas Cade. "Does she know about the Gannett key?" "No," Mara's recording replied. "She just sees the money, but Nicola is protecting her. He is moving. He's planning a move on the Blue Crown. He's bringing X9. "Let him," Cade's voice said. "I will be waiting. Use the trigger phrase, WPA 13. Let me know the second they are on the roof. I will handle the rest." I pressed stop. The silence that followed was absolute. June had not moved, but her hands were clenched into white-knuckled fists. Mara's face had crumpled. The mask of professionalism was gone, shattered. She looked small, old, and terrified. She sank into the steel chair. "You were forced," June said. It was not a question. Her voice was a bare whisper. "Just like me. He's using someone you love." Mara broke. A dry, ragged sob tore out of her throat. "My brother," she whispered, the words thick with shame. "My little brother, he's not well. He got into trouble, Cade. Cade has him, at a private facility. They call it Horizon Fold. It's a black site. They said they would kill him, unless I delivered the Gannett key." She looked at me, her eyes streaming. I thought I could manage it. I thought I could feed Cade just enough to keep my brother alive, without compromising you. I tried to warn you off the casino. I tried. My hand moved inside my jacket, my fingers brushing the cold steel of the holstered weapon. In my organization, betrayal is a cancer. The only cure is amputation. There is no sentiment. There is no appeal. As I moved, June stepped out of the shadow. She moved directly between me and Mara. "No," she said. My eyes narrowed. "Get out of the way, June." "No," she said again. Her voice was shaking, but she held her ground. "You will not. She's not a traitor. She's a hostage. Can you not see the difference?" "She betrayed this family. She pointed a gun at your head," I said, my voice like ice. "She was trying to save her brother. I will not be the reason someone else loses their family. I will not stand by and watch you make another orphan. Not for this. Not for your pride." Her words hit me harder than any bullet. Alessio, my own brother, the one I could not save. My hand dropped from my jacket. The rage did not disappear, but it shifted. It became cold, calculating. "Fine," I said. I looked past June, at the weeping woman in the chair. "You are not a traitor, Mara. You are a tool, and I am going to use you." I explained the protocol, the honesty circle. I called it. It is not forgiveness. It is a cage. You will go back to Silas Cade. You will tell him we escaped. You will tell him you are still in my confidence. You will feed him every piece of disinformation I give you. But from this moment, your life is not your own. Your phone is mirrored. Your car is bugged. A ghost line team will be watching you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every call you make, every word you breathe, we will hear it. You are no longer my advisor. You are a hollow conduit, and if you deviate, if you give one signal I have not authorized, your brother will not be your only problem." Mara nodded, the terror of death replaced by the grim understanding of her new reality. She was alive, but she was owned. She stood up, wiped her face, and walked out. When the door closed, June turned on me. "Do not break her." "She is broken." "No, she is scared. You want her loyalty? You want to win this? Then stop using fear. He's using fear. You use gratitude. Save her brother. Get him out of Horizon Fold. You do that, and she will burn Silas Cade to the ground for you. Willingly. I looked at her. Her strategic mind, that sharp, analytical brain, was now fused with an empathy I had stamped out of myself decades ago. It was a dangerous, volatile combination. And she was right. We will save the brother, I agreed. We will use Mara to find the fold. We will extract him. Then she will help us dismantle Cade's empire. But let me be clear. I stepped closer to her until we were only inches apart, just as we had been on the rooftop. The energy was still there, but it was no longer soft. It was sharp. This is the only reason I am agreeing to this. This is the only time. If Cade touches you again, if he even looks at you, this entire city burns. There will be no strategy. There will be no gratitude. There will only be ash. Do you understand me? June held my gaze. I understand. The vibrating buzz was almost silent, but in the tense quiet of the room, it sounded like an alarm. It was not my phone. It was hers. She frowned, pulling the shattered, blood-stained phone from her pocket, the one from her apartment. My team had recovered it, cleaned it, and returned it to her. She looked at the screen. All the color drained from her face. She went white, a bleached, skeletal white. It was a terror I had not seen before, not even when the gunman was kicking in her door. She made a small, choked sound and held the phone out to me. My eyes snapped to the screen. It was a photograph, a woman, older, frail. Her dark hair threaded with gray. She was asleep in a hospital bed, an IV tube taped to her thin arm. Lilia, the name from June's tattoo. Her mother. Beneath the photo, a single line of text. Pelican Line Pier. 1 hour. Come alone, or her treatment stops. He found her, June whispered. The words were dead. He found my mother. She's sick. She needs her medication. Oh God, he's doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing to me. She lunged for the door. She was not thinking. She was pure, raw panic. I caught her. I did not grab her wrists. I put my arm across the door, a solid bar of steel blocking her path. Get out of my way, she hissed, her voice a desperate, animalistic sound. No. Nicola, you do not understand. He will stop her treatment. He will kill her. She shoved at my chest, her fists pounding against me, but it was like a bird hitting a concrete wall. You are not going, I said, my voice low, cutting through her panic. It is a trap. You go there. You die. And your mother dies anyway. I do not care. I have to try. I grabbed her shoulders, my grip hard, forcing her to look at me. Stop and think, I commanded. Use that brain. He wants you. He wants the bait. He's using your mother to get you to walk into his trap. She froze. The tears were streaming down her face, but the frantic, mindless panic subsided, replaced by the cold, sharp clarity of rage. She looked up at me, her eyes dark, bottomless. I will not make my mother an orphan, she said, her voice shaking. He wants me. He wants the girl who found his data. She stepped back, pulling away from the door, pulling herself together. But do not, she whispered, her voice lethally quiet. Tie my hands. He wants the bait. Fine, let's go. A cold smile touched my lips. She was not running. She was fighting. Yay, we go together, I said. He wants the bait, but this time, we make the bait poison. The Pelican Line Pier was a lie. Cade expected June to panic and run to her mother. He expected me to be an idiot, to follow her into a daylight trap. We let him think it. Instead, Mara, now our double agent, fed Cade a new narrative. She told him I had secured June in an impenetrable location. She told him I was a cornered animal, panicked by the casino failure, convinced the Gannett key was my only way out. She told him I was coming back for it, this time through the basement. Cade, blinded by his own arrogance, believed her. He fortified the main vault. but we were not going for the main vault. We were going for the blue ivory. Mora's intel, now clean, was precise. The blue ivory was a secondary vault, a fail-safe built into the basement, where Cade stored the cryptographic shards for his wash wallets. Not the Gannett key he thought I was hunting, but the keys to his entire money laundry. That was our true target. The casino was locked down. The high roller entrance was impossible. We needed a new way in. The just married package, June had said, her voice hard with a new, cold anger. We were in a different safe house, a clean one. It's on their website. It's cheesy. It's public. And it's invisible. It gives you access to a private photo booth in the service wing near the chapel. So at 10 p.m. we were married. Or we looked the part. I stood in the casino's service hallway, pulling at the collar of a tight, ridiculous rented tuxedo. June was beside me in a simple white dress, her dark hair pinned up. She looked absurd. She looked beautiful. We looked like every other pair of hopeful fools in this city. "Here," she said, pointing to the automated photo booth tucked into an alcove. "This is our door." We stepped inside, the curtain closing, bathing us in a flat, white light. "Congratulations, happy couple, say cheese," an automated voice chirped. June was not smiling. She had a small, custom tablet, and its cable was already plugged into the machine's maintenance port. "I'm in," she whispered. "Their system is archaic." The camera flashed. 1, 2, 3. "It's done," she said. The machine whirred, and a strip of glossy photos slid out. Us, me, looking like I was about to murder the camera. June, a small, fierce smile on her face. But it was the QR code at the bottom of the strip that mattered. "It's not a coupon for the buffet," she said. "I just rewrote it. It's now a level 7 access key. It will open the service elevator." We walked, a happy couple, to the restricted elevator bank. I scanned the QR code. The light turned green. The doors opened. The basement corridor was white, sterile, and smelled of ozone and bleach. One camera mounted high on the wall. "Wait," June said. She knelt, plugging her tablet into a network port on the wall. "His security is physical. He's not watching for digital ghosts." On her screen, I saw the live feed from the camera, the empty hall. I'm giving it a real-time static loop. It's not a frozen image, it's generative. It will look like an empty, quiet hallway for the next 5 minutes. Go. We moved, at the end of the hall, a steel door, and in front of it, a guard. He was sitting at a metal desk, reading a magazine. He never heard me. I moved like smoke, my hard-soled shoes making no sound on the polished concrete. By the time his instincts told him he was not alone, my left hand was over his mouth and nose, my right forearm applying precise, bilateral pressure to his carotid arteries. It was not a fight, it was a switch. He went limp in my arms in under 5 seconds. I laid him gently on the floor, took his sidearm, and tucked it into my waistband. June stepped over him without a second glance. "The vault," she said, pointing. It was not a vault. It was a circle of polished steel set into the wall, seamless, with no handle, no keypad, just a flat, dark glass panel for a handprint. Beside it, a small digital screen. It read, "Awaiting stable pulse, 6066 BPM. "A calm state lock," I whispered. "He's so arrogant. He thinks no one could possibly get this far without their heart pounding out of their chest." "Is yours?" she asked, her voice tight. "Yes," I admitted. The rage at Cade, the fear for her mother, the adrenaline of the breach. I was a vibrating wire. I placed my hand on the scanner. The screen glowed, then flashed red. Pulse rejected 82 BPM. "Damn it!" I tried again. I took a deep breath. I focused on the cold. The screen flashed. Pulse rejected 79 BPM. "I can't," I hissed. "I'm too wired. I'm too angry." "Nicola?" I looked at her. She stepped in front of me, her body close. "Breathe with me," she said. She took a breath. In for 4. Hold out for 4. I tried to match her. My heart hammered in defiance. She sighed, a small, impatient sound. "This is not working." She stepped forward, right into my space. She took my hand, the one I had just pulled from the scanner, and placed it back on the glass. Then, she placed her small, unbandaged hand directly on top of mine. Her skin was cool. Her presence was a sudden, solid thing. "Close your eyes," she commanded. I obeyed. I smelled the faint, clean scent of her, soap and something else, something like steel. I felt the light, even pressure of her palm. I focused on her pulse, a steady, calm, stubborn beat, and willed my own to match it. "Think about the rooftop," she whispered, her voice so low I almost did not hear it. Not the end of it, the moment before, the quiet, when it was just us and the wind. I breathed in. I was not in the basement. I was on the roof. I felt the cold air. I felt her head against mine. My heart, that hammering, angry muscle, gave a final, hard kick. And then it slowed. It yielded. It fell into rhythm with hers. The scanner light, visible through my closed eyelids, turned from red to a soft, steady blue. Pulse accepted 62 BPM. The heavy steel door unlatched with a quiet, satisfying thud. I opened my eyes. We were still standing there. Hand in hand, pressed against the vault, we both let out a single, shared breath. I looked down at her. A slow, tired, victorious smile spread across her face. "Synchronized," I whispered. She almost laughed. I opened the door. The vault was small, cold, and lit by a single blue light. On a pedestal in the center sat a black, temperature-controlled case. I opened it. Inside, resting on dark foam, was a single, obsidian-black data shard, the master key to Cade's entire financial underworld. I took it. There was no alarm, no siren, no rushing guards. Just silence, a heavy waiting, perfect silence. And then, a click. A speaker hidden in the ceiling crackled to life. "Well done, Nicola." That voice, the same synthesized, arrogant, cold voice from Mara's recording, Silas Cade. My body went rigid. I shoved June behind me, my hand instinctively going to the guard's gun at my waist. That pulse trick was new, very romantic. That is your weakness. You know, you cannot help but feel. The steel door to the hallway slammed shut. The sound a definitive, metallic boom of a maglock engaging. I expected Mara's betrayal would make you reckless. Cade's voice hummed, filling the small room. "She told me you were coming. The trap was set. The room you are in is now hermetically sealed. In precisely 90 seconds, the fire suppression system will fill it with halon gas. You will not feel a thing. You will just sleep. Permanently." I threw my shoulder against the door. It did not budge. It was solid steel. "But I am a reasonable man," Cade continued, a sickeningly pleasant tone in his voice. "I want the girl. She is the anomaly. She saw my system. I want to know how. So, I will make you a final deal." A section of the floor tiles hissed and retracted, revealing a square, dark hole, an emergency incinerator chute. That chute leads to the docks. It is a one-way trip. Nicola, you have 60 seconds. Leave her behind and you live. You can walk away, stay, and you both drown in the dark. 60 seconds, the choice. My life or hers. I looked at her. Her face was pale, but she was not crying. She was not panicking. She was looking right at me, her eyes clear, steady, and full of fire. She shook her head. Just once. A tiny, defiant movement. It said everything. Do not leave me, and do not let him win. That was all I needed. I reached into my tuxedo pocket. I pulled out the fake shard, a worthless, corrupted drive Mara had given me for this exact possibility. I held it up for the hidden camera to see. "You win, Cade," I yelled. I threw the fake shard down the dark incinerator chute. "He's monitoring the chute," I whispered to June. "He just saw his shard fall. He thinks I've given up." 30 seconds, Cade's voice warned. "A noble sacrifice. June, he chose you." "He's wrong," I said. I grabbed the heavy, steel desk the guard had been using. It was bolted to the concrete floor. He lied. There's always another way out. I put my back into it. With a roar that tore from my throat, I ripped the desk from its bolts. Metal screamed in protest. 20 seconds, it's a shame. I did not throw the desk at the door. I looked up. A wall of thick, 9-inch utility pipes, steam, condensation. I lifted the desk over my head. "Hold your breath," I yelled. I threw it. The sheer weight of the desk smashed into the central joint of the pipes. The joint ruptured. The room exploded. It was not a fire. It was a flood, a wave of scalding, pressurized steam, roaring like a dragon, filled the vault instantly. The lights shattered. The speaker died. The world dissolved into a blinding, screaming, white-hot fog. "He's blind," I yelled over the noise. I grabbed June's arm. I found the guard's gun in my waistband and shoved it into her hand. "If I go down, shoot for the sound." I dragged her toward the wall I had broken. We climbed into the utility space, a dark, hot, wet tunnel filled with the sound of hissing steam. We ran. We burst out of a service hatch. Smashing it open with our combined weight, we fell onto the cold, wet concrete of the docks. Behind the casino, the night was black. The wind had changed. It was blowing hard off the water, cold and clean. June was coughing, her lungs aching from the steam, but she was already on her feet. Her eyes scanned the slips. She pointed, a long, sleek, black speedboat, the North Star logo gleaming on its side. It was Cade's escape boat. She pulled a small, silver disc from the pocket of her white dress, the acoustic beacon. Maura had called it a rim tag. While I watched the hatch, she ran, low and fast, to the edge of the slip. She leaned over, slapping the beacon hard against the boat's hull, just below the waterline, where it vanished into the dark. She ran back to me. Her dress was torn and stained with rust and grime. Her face was streaked with soot, but her eyes were blazing. She had just set the final piece on the board. "Now," she panted, a wild, dangerous smile on her face. "He can run." The night air at Pelican Line Pier was black and heavy, thick with the smell of low tide and diesel. This was Cade's chosen ground. The previous trap, the threat against her mother, had been a feint. This was the real meat. He wanted his poison bait, and we were here to deliver it. I stood in the absolute darkness beneath the pier's main conveyor belt, my hand on June's back. She was not trembling. The girl I had pulled from the apartment was gone. In her place was a soldier. She was still wearing the soot-stained white dress from the casino, now hidden under a dark coat. A black transport ferry, its running lights off, slid through the water and nudged the pylons with a heavy, groaning sound. It was a vehicle ferry, empty, waiting. The ramp lowered onto the pier. 4 men in dark, tactical gear walked off. They fanned out, their weapons held low, their faces impassive. "This is as far as you go," I whispered. My voice was rough. This was the part of the plan I hated. "I know," she said. She turned, and in the sliver of moonlight, I saw her face. It was calm, determined. "When he calls, you'll be watching." Every second, I promised. I pressed a small, metallic disc into her good hand. It was a secondary tracker, thinner. "If you can drop this." She nodded. "Miss Navarro," one of the men called out. He had her. He had her name. June stepped out of the shadow, alone. I watched, my entire body screaming in protest. As they flanked her, they did not touch her, but they herded her, like a prized animal, up the metal ramp and onto the dark, open deck of the ferry. The ramp began to retract. The moment it was sealed, a tablet was thrust into her hand. The screen flickered to life. My own comms chimed as her device synced with the network, feeding her video signal directly to my earpiece and the tactical screen my Ghostline team was monitoring from a van 2 blocks away. Silas Cade's face appeared. He was not smiling. He looked tired. He looked angry. He looked like a man who had been made a fool of in his own casino. "June," he said. His voice was a cold, digital hiss. "You have caused me a great deal in trouble, and you have something I want." I don't have anything, guys, she said, her voice steady. No, you do not, Cade sneered. But your protector does. He's listening. I know. Hello, Nicola. I trust you are enjoying the view. The video feed on the tablet switched. It was Lilia, her mother, the same image as before, asleep, the IV in her arm. But this time, it was live. We could see the faint rhythmic rise and fall of her chest. She is comfortable, and Cade said, for now. But her treatment is complicated. It requires authorization. Authorization that is currently held by a very reasonable group of men at the Coastal Integrity Commission. My men. The fake agency, the one he had used to threaten her before. I want the Gannett key, Cade said. Not a fake, not a copy. The real thing. You have 24 hours to deliver it. If you do not, the commission will be forced to revoke her treatment plan, permanently. And you, my dear, you will watch her die from this boat. The ferry's engines roared to life, the deck shuddering beneath June's feet. It began to pull away from the pier, churning the black water into a white foam. I stepped out of the shadows, onto the edge of the pier. I was just a silhouette against the city lights. I watched the ferry move, the gap of dark, cold water widening. It felt like he was tearing a part of me away. This was the moral turning point, the place where a man breaks. He was not just taking her. He was forcing me to choose between my life's work and her mother's life. He was trying to make me bleed. My voice was a low growl, meant only for her earpiece. He does not need the key, June. He could have taken it at the casino. He could have killed us on the roof. This is not about the key. The ferry was 50 feet out, 100. This is about humiliation, I whispered, my hands clenched. He does not need the key. He needs me to kneel. On the tablet screen, June's face was a mask of cold fury. She was not looking at Cade. She was looking at the camera. She was looking at me. She lifted her hand, the one with the tablet, bringing her face close to the lens, as if to study her own reflection. You do not kneel, she whispered, her voice a steel wire. I will stand. Our eyes locked. Not in person, but through a mesh of digital signals across a widening expanse of water. The connection was absolute. The promise was made. Then, her eyes flickered. Just for a second, past the tablet, past the guard standing at her shoulder. She was looking at a security camera mounted on the ferry's main bulkhead. She was still holding the tablet up, but her other hand, her free hand, moved. It was not obvious. It looked like a nervous tick. She straightened her coat. She brushed her hair from her face, but her fingers were moving, sharp, precise. It was sign language. My God, her mother. She had told me her mother had been sick for a long time. Taught her. I watched her hands, ANCHORTHREELOOSE. My eyes snapped to the live drone feed on my own screen. The Ghostline drone was hovering 1,000 feet above the ferry, its thermal imaging painting the scene in stark white and black. I zoomed in on the starboard bow. Anchor number 3. She was right, the housing was loose. A recent repair. Badly done. The ferry was turning now, heading for the main channel. As it turned, the hull flexed, and the loose anchor plate shifted, exposing a gap, a structural weakness. She signed again, TURNHULLOPEN. She was giving me a target. Ghostline. I snapped into my comm. Diver team. Do you see that anchor housing number 3? Affirmative, boss, a voice crackled back. It is messy. We see the gap. I want a small float charge, just enough to rattle the ship. I want to knock out their engines and their lights. I want chaos. On my mark. Hit it. Now. On the ferry, June was still staring at Cade on the screen, her face a mask of desperation, a performance to keep him engaged. The world exploded in white. The charge was small, but it was placed perfectly. It detonated against the weak housing, the concussion shuddering through the ferry's entire frame. The boat did not sink, but it lurched violently, its engines dying with a choked, metallic scream. On the deck, the lights went out. The tablet in June's hand went black, The feed was dead. Men were shouting. Alarms were blaring, high and thin. The ferry, its engines dead, was now drifting, its own momentum carrying it in a slow, uncontrolled arc back toward the pier. "She's blind," I said. "Move. All teams. Move." I was already running. The ferry was a black shape, drifting closer. It was going to strike the pier, not far from where I stood. I saw her, a small, dark shadow against the graying sky. She was running, climbing over a stack of life rafts. She reached the edge of the deck. The ferry hit the pier. The sound was a deafening groan of tortured metal and splintering wood. The impact was hard. It threw her forward. She did not fall. She jumped. She launched herself into the gap, a black void of churning water. It was too far. I knew it was too far. "June?" She did not scream. She hit the side of the pier, hard. Her body slammed against the concrete. I saw her hand, her good hand, shoot out, her fingers catching, hooking onto a thick, rusted anchor line that was draped down the pier wall. She was dangling. Her feet were inches above the black, sucking water. I was already there. I threw myself flat onto the wet concrete, plunging my arms into the darkness. I did not even see her. I just felt. My fingers brushed her coat. I grabbed a handful of the fabric, my other hand seizing her arm. "I have you," I roared. I pulled. My muscles screamed. She was a dead weight, her body limp from the impact. I hauled her up, dragging her over the sharp concrete edge. She collapsed onto the pier, half on top of me. We were a gasping, tangled mess of limbs, soaked in salt water, smelling of rust and fear. I rolled, putting myself between her and the chaos on the ferry, where my Ghost Line team was now boarding, their movements swift and silent in the flashing emergency lights. I was holding her so tightly I thought my arms would break. I could feel her heart hammering against my ribs. She was coughing, gasping for air. A sound tore out of her throat. It was half a sob, half a desperate, hysterical laugh. I buried my face in her wet hair, my own chest aching. We were alive. We were together. The salt on my lips was from the sea and from the tears on her face, and we were alive. The sky broke open. It was not rain. It was a biblical deluge, a solid wall of water moving sideways. Driven by a 70-mile-an-hour wind, the storm had finally made landfall, and it had chosen Hollow Reef Terminal as its personal battleground. The terminal was a massive, echoing metal barn, big enough to swallow a container ship. The wind screamed through the gaps in the corrugated steel, a sound like 1,000 mourning voices. This was where Silas Cade had pulled back his entire organization. Every gun, every dollar, every loyal man. He thought he was fortifying his castle. He was just building his own tomb. He was standing on a central catwalk, high above the concrete floor. He was flanked by his private guard. Below him, in the vast open space, were at least 50 of his North Star Guild members. They were arranged as if for a rally. At the far end of the terminal, Cade had built a stage. On that stage, a massive projection screen, and standing beside it, 3 men in severe black suits, their arms crossed. They wore windbreakers with embroidered seals. Coastal Integrity Commission, Cade's fake federal agency, his personal boogeymen. "Nicola Gallucci," Cade's voice boomed over a loudspeaker, cutting through the howl of the storm. He sounded triumphant. He sounded giddy. "You are a hard man to kill, but you came, and you brought the accountant. You are just in time for the main event, your own confession." I stood in the massive, rolling doorway, the wind and rain soaking my back within seconds. June was at my side. Her hand was steady, in it. She clutched the single obsidian data shard we had stolen from the blue ivory vault, the real one. I had given it to her. It was the ultimate show of trust. My entire organization's financial keys, resting in her palm. "You want to show a movie, Silas?" I yelled back. My voice was raw, barely audible over the wind. "Then play the tape. Let's see what you have." Cade laughed. a high, thin sound that the wind snatched away. By all means. He signaled to the men on the stage. The giant screen flickered to life. My face. It was me. My office. I was looking into the camera, but I was not me. The eyes were dead. The voice, when it came, was flat, robotic, but it was mine. Nicola Gallucci, the thing on the screen said, do hereby confess to 16 counts of racketeering, 4 counts of illegal arms importation, and the manipulation of the Coronado Port Authority. It was a good fake, a deep fake, polished, clean, and utterly damning. I saw some of Cade's men shifting, their belief in him visibly solidifying. He was showing them he had already won. He had turned me into his puppet. June's other hand was on her tablet. Her thumb was tracing a single icon. His main jammers are active, she whispered, her voice tight. But the acoustic beacon is not radio frequency. It is sonar. It is already singing. They can hear it. She pressed the icon. Unit X9 is active. As my fake confession droned on, Cade was too busy watching my face, savoring his victory, to notice the 2 unmarked plumbing vans that had rolled quietly into the terminal's rear maintenance bay. They were not feds. They were my Unit X9, my internal audit team, a 12-man crew of the best forensic accountants and data miners on the West Coast, all disguised in tactical gear. They were not there for Cade. They were there for his servers. June tapped her earpiece, a signal I could not hear. Mara, hit him. Now. A loud click echoed through the terminal as the loudspeaker feed was hijacked. Cade's sound system went silent. Then, a new voice filled the void. Mara's, cold, clear, and utterly professional. This is an emergency override of the Coronado Port broadcast, she said. Her voice was not just in the terminal. It was streaming live, piggybacking on the port's public weather alert system. The Citrus Bright Fund is a fraudulent criminal enterprise. What you are seeing now is the real ledger. The giant screen displaying my face snapped to black. It was replaced by June's spreadsheets, the Fibonacci sequence, the $4,999 donations, the Shell Company, Sarah Freight, the payments to Capella. Cade's men, his loyal soldiers, instinctively pulled out their own phones. They saw the public alert. They saw the live stream. They saw their leader's entire charitable front being dismantled in real time. Cade's face went from smug to sheet white to a deep, blotchy purple. He drew his weapon, a heavy caliber pistol, and pointed it not at me, but at the screen. Lies, he screamed, his voice cracking. Shoot them, kill them all, shut it off. He fired. The bullet shattered the projector. And at that exact moment, as if summoned by his rage, the storm tore the roof from the building. The sound was a definitive, deafening shriek of metal giving way. A 30-foot section of the terminal roof peeled back like the lid of a tin can, and the storm came inside. Rain and wind exploded downwards. A bank of high-voltage transformers on the wall erupted in a shower of blue sparks, plunging the entire stadium into absolute, terrifying darkness. The world dissolved. There was no up. There was no down. There was only the roar of the wind, the crash of the ocean, and the sudden, frantic pop, pop, pop of gunfire. Cade's men were blind, panicked, and shooting at shadows, at each other. Nicola, June screamed. I grabbed her, pulling her down behind the solid steel chassis of a shipping container. Breathe, I yelled over the din. 4 count with me, in. The air was thick with cordite and salt. Muzzle flashes were the only light, frantic orange strobes illuminating a battlefield of chaos. We move, I said, now. We ran, low and fast, using the containers for cover. A man, one of Cade's guards, spun out from between 2 stacks of barrels. He saw the flash of June's white dress, which was now gray with grime. He lunged, grabbing her arm. She did not panic. She did not scream. She reacted. She slammed her elbow backward into his solar plexus. He grunted, his grip loosening. She did not stop. She spun into him, grabbed his wrist with her good hand, twisted it, and hooked her foot behind his ankle. It was a perfect, clean, vicious pivot. He went down hard, his head cracking on the wet concrete. But she had not seen the second man. He was right behind her, raising his pistol, aiming for the back of her head. I saw him. I did not think. My own weapon was in my hand. 2 shots, the sound swallowed by the storm. 2 bright flashes. The man crumpled. June turned, her eyes wide, illuminated by the flash of my gun. We locked eyes. There was no time for thanks. There was no time for fear. It was just confirmation. A raw animal instinct. I was her shield. She was my center. "The screen," she yelled, pointing into the dark. "Cade's rebooting the system. He's trying to get the deepfake back online." She was right. Through the storm, I could see the glow of Cade's catwalk terminal. He was desperately trying to regain control. "He's still connected," she said, her own tablet lighting up her face with a pale blue glow. "The kiosk files. He gave me a system architecture. He's arrogant. He's running the feed from his personal server." She tapped the screen. On the stage, the massive screen, battered by rain, flickered back to life. Cade's deepfake of me started to play again. And then it stammered. My fake face froze. It glitched. It dissolved. It was replaced by a new video, a grainy, low-light video from a server room. It was Silas Cade. He was sweating, his tie loosened. He was pacing, agitated. "No, no, no!" His real voice whined. It was thin, reedy, and pathetic. "The inflection is all wrong. Racketeering. It needs to sound heavier, gravelly, like him. Do it again." June had found the raw files, the practice runs, the outtakes. She was playing his behind-the-scenes footage. The gunfire stopped, one by one. Cade's men stopped shooting. They looked up at the screen. They saw their brilliant, terrifying leader. They saw the real Silas Cade, a small, sweaty man in a recording booth, practicing his lies. The illusion of his power, the entire North Star Guild, shattered in that one humiliating instant. That was when the sirens came. Not the quiet, subtle ones from my Unit X9. These were loud. Red and blue lights flooded the terminal entrance. Coronado Port Police, a bullhorn blared. "This is a raid, everyone on the ground, hands in the air." They were real, but they were just the harbor patrol, the ones June had insisted we call, the ones with no connections, no corruption, the ones who just did their jobs. My Unit X9 was already gone. While the firefight raged, they had slipped out the back maintenance bay with Cade's servers, his paper trails, and the real evidence. They had evaporated into the storm like ghosts. I looked up at the catwalk. Cade was standing frozen, his pistol hanging limply at his side. He was staring at his own pathetic image on the giant screen. His army was gone. His men were dropping their weapons, hands raised, surrendering to the harbor patrol. His money was gone. His secret was out. He was just a man on a stage, left alone in the dark, with a storm raging around him and the slow, heavy footsteps of the law coming up the stairs. The sirens were a distant, screaming punctuation mark on the chaos. But Cade was not done. As the port police swarmed the terminal, their flashlights cutting useless beams through the rain, Cade, still on his catwalk, looked at me. His face was no longer angry. It was empty. The cold, flat calm of a man who has lost everything and has decided to take the world with him. He lifted a small, black detonator from his belt. "If I do not have this port, Nicola," his voice, no longer amplified, was a thin reed in the wind, "no one will." He pressed the button. Nothing exploded, not immediately. Instead, a new sound joined the storm, a high-pitched, piercing hiss, a sound I knew. The sound of a high-pressure valve releasing. "Shed 7, I roared, my blood running cold. "The gasoline reserves." He had set a final, dead man's switch. Not a bomb, a fire. He was flooding the drainage system with tens of thousands of gallons of gasoline, and the electrical sparks from the shattered transformers would do the rest. He was going to incinerate the entire terminal. I did not wait for the police. I ran. I grabbed June's arm and pulled her with me. The valve room now. The room was a steel box set into the terminal's foundation, a place of iron and steam. The hissing was deafening in here. A massive red pipe, slick with condensation, was vibrating, the main release valve spinning wide open. "We have to close it," I yelled over the sound. "It's a two-wheel system, a fail-safe. You have to turn them both, opposite directions, at the same time." I grabbed the left wheel, a heavy iron circle. June, her face set, grabbed the one on the right. "On three," I shouted. 1, 2, 3, turn. We threw our entire weights into it. The wheels were stiff, designed to resist accidental closure. My muscles burned, the metal biting into my palms. "It's not moving," June gasped, her feet slipping on the wet floor. Again I roared, "Turn." The hissing sound outside faltered. It changed pitch. "It's working," I yelled. "It's starving the fire push." I put my back into it. One final, desperate shove. The wheel gave a sudden, hard turn. My grip, slick with rain and steam, slipped. I went down, my feet shot out from under me, and I fell backward, my head aimed straight for the concrete floor. I did not hit it. June had let go of her own wheel. She had lunged, catching me by the back of my jacket, her arms wrapping around my chest from behind. Her strength was surprising. It was not the strength of muscle. It was the strength of pure, desperate will. Her pull saved me from the fall, but it broke our balance. We went down together, a tangled heap of soaked clothing and aching limbs, landing hard on the steel grating. I landed on top of her, my body shielding hers from the impact. The room was suddenly quiet. The hissing had stopped. The only sounds were the muffled roar of the storm outside and the harsh, ragged sound of our own breathing. We were on the floor, eye to eye, chest to chest, adrenaline and exhaustion washing over us in equal measure. The smell of smoke and gasoline was thick in the air, but we were alive. June's hand, the bandaged one, came up. She did not shove me off. She did not panic. She placed her palm gently on my cheek. Her fingers were trembling. It was a question, a confirmation. I leaned down and I kissed her. This was not the kiss from the rooftop. That was discovery. This was a promise. It was longer. It was deeper. It was gratitude and determination, and the desperate, undeniable relief of two people who had walked through the fire and found each other on the other side. It was the warmth of her skin against mine, a single point of heat in the cold, dangerous world. My hand came up to her shoulder, my fingers gripping the soaked fabric of her coat, holding her steady, a promise that I would not let her fall, a promise that I would not let her go. We broke apart, but did not move. Our foreheads touched. We were both smiling, a tired, bruised, broken smile. "Live first," she whispered, her voice rough. "Dream later," I finished. Outside the valve room, the world had been secured. The Coastal Integrity Commission, Cade's fake federal agency, was being exposed in real time by Mara's live stream. The Citrus Bright Fund had already imploded, a house of wet sand in the storm. We walked out to see Silas Cade in handcuffs. The harbor police were leading him away. He was not resisting. He was just muttering, his eyes empty, staring at the ruins of his empire. It was just the cost of business, he mumbled. Over and over, the justice of money. I did not announce a victory. I did not claim the port. I was a ghost. The next day, an independent lawyer, one June had found, a woman with no ties to anyone, walked into the Coronado courthouse. She delivered a single, encrypted hard drive. It contained every file from my Unit X9, every server, every transaction that proved the North Star Guild's corruption. I kept my name clean. I kept my hands free of the blood. 3 days later, June stood in a clean, private room, bright with afternoon sunlight. She was watching her mother, Lilia, sleep. But this was not the grim, gray room from Cade's video. This was the starlit pavilion, the best private care facility on the coast, a new foundation. Second Harbor was paying for it all. I found her in the hallway. Second Harbor, I said, reading the name on the new donor plaque. Your choice. Mine, she said, not taking her eyes off her mother. A foundation with a 100% open audit, every cent accounted for, run by me. A lot of work for a barista, I said. She smiled. I'm a fast learner. The next day, Mara Quill stood before my entire senior team at the Indigo warehouse. Her brother was safe, extracted from Horizon Fold the night Cade fell. I have no excuse, Mara said, her voice clear, her eyes holding mine. I failed this family. I am ready to accept the consequences. The room was silent. My men waited for my judgment. I stepped forward. Debts are paid with a correct future, I said, my voice quiet. You made a mistake. You will spend the rest of your career fixing it. The Second Harbor Foundation needs a head of security for its witness protection program. You're it. Do not fail her. Mara looked at June. June nodded once. A debt paid, a future earned. That night, I offered June the real position, the head of the clean branch. I called it an independent auditor for the entire Vale Syndicate, my organization with full, independent oversight and the power to veto any deal you find questionable. She stood at the window of my office, looking down at the port, which was already being rebuilt. I will do it, she said, on one condition. Name it. She turned to face me. The fear was gone. The hesitation was gone. All that was left was steel. I will tear down anything that is dirty, even if it is yours. A slow smile spread across my face. That, June, I said, is exactly why I chose you. The storm had passed. The night was clear, the air washed clean, smelling of salt and wet wood. We stood on the boardwalk, side by side, the water of the harbor flat and black as glass. It was the first quiet moment since her text message. She leaned her head against my shoulder, a small movement, a simple, profound weight. Are you scared, she asked the dark water, of all this, of me? I looked at the city, my city, the empire I had built from my brother's ashes. I had been scared of losing it every day of my life. Yes, I said. It was the truest thing I had ever said. But when you texted the wrong number into my life, I stopped being scared of being alone. A single, long, low horn from a tugboat sounded across the water, a final, mournful bell toll for the battle that was over. The harbor was quiet. The war was won. The story was not over, but this chapter was. The threads were not cut, but they were finally tied. It was not a victory of guns, but a victory of truth, a story that ended not with a conquest, but with a quiet promise, made on a dark pier, to live a better life, together. Thank you so much for listening to this story. We would love to connect with you, so please comment below and let us know where in the world you are listening from. Be sure to subscribe to Mafia Boss Stories and like this video. You can also support us by hitting that hype button to help this story be heard by more people.